A very good morning to my dear students. Let's start our IP class. Hope you all are fine and doing well and studying well too. Today, let's revise our chapter 1. We have already completed chapter 1, IP chapter 1, which is computer system. This is in NCERT book. First chapter is computer system, which we already completed. Today, let's take a revision class. So first, we started with an introduction to computer system in which it's mentioning that computer is an electronic device that can be programmed to accept data and process it and generate result. So a computer contains additional hardware and software. This combination, the additional hardware and software along with the computer, is known as computer system. And computer system primarily contains CPU. CPU means we already studied. It contains arithmetic unit and control unit. And some CPU registers also there. So this part is CPU. And input device, output device, and memory unit. These are the main components of a computer system. That is CPU, input device, output device, and memory unit. Then what is a CPU? CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. As the name implies, by using CPU, all the processing is done in a computer. It mainly consists of two parts. They are arithmetic and logic unit and control unit. As the name implies, arithmetic and logic unit are used for arithmetical and logical operations, and control unit is used for overall control of the computer. In addition to this, there are some CPU registers also there in CPU. By using these CPU registers, execution or temporary storage of data takes place in CPU. Then CPU is a chip. It is known as microprocessor. It's a small chip inside which programs are processing. Next is input device. Here are some input devices. As the name implies, input devices are used to give input to the computer. For example, we all are using their keyboard, mouse, scanner, touch screen, etc. We all are using in our houses this type of input device. Then next is output device. As the name implies, from computer we will get data from output device. For example, speaker by using which we can hear song. Monitor. I am now using monitor. By using this monitor I can read. Then some printers. By using printers we can take hard copy of data. So these are the output device. So input device are used to give input to the computer. Output device will give result back to the user. And then we studied evolution of computer. In this very important is von Neumann architecture in which input output device, central processing unit, and memory. The same figure we studied, this figure, this combined to form CPU, then this combined to form memory, then input and output. It is known as von Neumann architecture. Then there are some evolution of computers from abacus to integrated circuits. Now we are in artificial intelligence, we are using robotics, we are using cloud computing, we are using internet of things. These are the advanced areas of computers. Now in each seconds these computers are evolving from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G, now 5G, like that. Then next is computer memory. As the name implies, memory is used for storage of data. There are mainly two types of memories are used in computer, mainly two types, and there is additional memory known as cache memory is also there. So they are primary memory and secondary memory. We will discuss primary memory and secondary memory. Before that we studied units of memory. In computers, data are stored in digital form or in binary format. That means zeros and ones are used to represent data in computer. So when 4 bits, if we combine 4 bits like 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, then 4 bits, it's known as nibble. Combination of 8 bits is known as byte. Then combination of 1024 bytes is known as 1 KB. Combination of 1024 KB is known as 1 MB and so on. So basic unit of a computer is bit, 4 bits forms nibble, 8 bits form byte. We already heard byte always. How many megabytes per seconds? We already specifying in our internet connection. 5 MB, 10 MB, 20 MB like that. So when you are hearing this MB, just remember that MB means megabyte and it is 1024 kilobyte and 1 KB equal to 1024 byte. So suppose if we want to convert 100 MB to byte, then how can we convert? Then 100 MB means 1024 KB. 1 MB means 1024 KB, then 100 MB means 100 into 1024 KB, and again we have to convert to byte, so into 24, then 100 into 1024 into 1024 bytes will be the answer. So these are the units to store data. Then we told types of memory. There are two types of memory, primary memory and secondary memory. As the name implies, primary memory is the main memory in which execution takes place with the help of primary memory. So without primary memory, we cannot execute our program. For example, there are two types of primary memories are there. They are RAM and ROM. RAM is known as random access memory and ROM is known as read-only memory. RAM also known as read-write memory. That means we can read and write data. When we are executing a program, then that program is loaded into RAM. When execution stops, the program is released from RAM. So it is known as read-write memory. And RAM is volatile memory. Volatile memory means if we are switch offing our computer, then data in RAM will lose. ROM is known as read-only memory. This ROM stores some important features like configuration data or program booter or manufacturer's information. This ROM is already defined by the manufacturer and we cannot erase the data. We cannot modify the data. So it will be stable data in ROM, which is known as non-volatile memory. That means if you are shutdowning our computer, data will not lose in the case of ROM. So ROM is known as read-only memory and RAM is random access memory. RAM is read-write memory. ROM is read-only memory. RAM is volatile memory. ROM is non-volatile memory. So that's about RAM and ROM. Then that means it's primary memory. Then next is cache memory. Actually, we are dealing mainly specifying two types of memory. They are primary memory and secondary memory. But there are a important memory which we uses in our computer, which is cache memory. In our mobile phone also, we can find that if we want to clear cache, then we will clear cache. So what this cache? Do you heard the term cache memory? Yes, you heard in many times in your mobile phone also you are finding this cache memory. Then what's cache memory? Suppose I want to access some person or frequently, then what will I do? I will place that person near to me. Like that, cache memory is used to store data which are accessed frequently by the user. So it can be accessed fastly compared to RAM. Cost is higher in cache memory. Cheap memory is secondary memory, then RAM, primary memory, then cache memory. So highest memory is cache memory. Its cost is high, but its size is low. Then its speed is high because it's connected directly to the CPU. This cache memory is connected directly to the CPU. So data which are accessed frequently by the users are placed in cache memory. Suppose we are accessing a website frequently, then that website's information is stored in cache memory. So computer can fetch it easily. Then next is secondary memory. Secondary memory is the Large capacity memory, its cost is low. For example, our hard disk is secondary memory, our CD-ROM is secondary memory. It is used for permanent storage of data. We already told in RAM, data are stored not permanently. Volatile data takes place. So when we are executing data, it will be stored in RAM. But in secondary memory, permanent storage of data takes place. In computer, we are partitioning our hard disk into C drive, D drive, E drive. In these drives, the data are stored permanently. So we can find the data. If suppose in D drive we stored some folders, then it will be in when we are shut down, and after reopening that D drive we can find that the data will be in D drive. That's like permanent storage of data in secondary memory. Then data capturing, storage and retrieval. Data capturing means by we can use digital cameras for capturing. These data are stored in usually in secondary storage device. And data retrieval means we can access the data from the computer. So then data deletion and recovery is an important topic. That means suppose if our data loss, sometimes it will be in accidentally, or sometimes other users will access our data. That means it's corrupted by other users, or it is hacked by hackers. Then our data will be lost, and some recovery mechanisms and softwares are available to recover the data. Next is software. Without software, we cannot work on the computer. Computer contains many hardware devices. To work each hardware device, its corresponding software is needed. For keyboard, its software is needed. So by using software only, we can run our program. Mainly software is classified into system software and application software. System software means it gives the basic functionality. It gives some security mechanisms, it time management. Examples of system software are system utilities and device drivers and operating system. You all know without operating system we cannot work in the computer. Examples of operating systems are Windows, Linux, Android, etc. System utilities means for the configuration and maintenance. Some softwares are used which is known as system utilities. By using this system utility, some antivirus software and disk cleaner will work. Then next is device driver. To work particular device, for example headphone, its device driver software is needed. Sometimes we have to install, or sometimes it is installed automatically like our headset. And there are some application software. It is used for some applications. For example, our Word, Excel documents are example for application software. In application software there are two classification. They are customized software and general purpose software. General purpose software means our Excel sheet which have large number of audience or bigger audience. So in world many people are using this general purpose software. Then customized software means some particular application or accounting software or some supermarket software, textile shop, etc. use this customized software. And there are free and open source software are there. Some software like Microsoft, we have to purchase it, which is known as copyrighted. Then some open source softwares are there like OpenOffice, Mozilla Firefox, Python, etc. We can download it, we can freely use it, we can modify it, which is known as free and open software. These are the explanation about chapter 1. And then there are some exercise questions also there. We already covered these questions. So let's wind up our chapter 1. Thank you. Have a nice day.